Hi, you're listening to Defend Your Time, brought to you by Continue. I'm your host, Chris Taylor. This is the podcast where we hope you get stronger security, more value, and fewer headaches out of your Microsoft security investments. And today, I'm joined by Continue's Chief Information Security Officer, Gareth Lindahl-Wise, for the third part of our series of conversations on applying agentic AI to security operations. In the first conversation we had with Toyas Hassman, we learned about the progression from deterministic automation all the way to agentic AI and what that can mean for security teams. Then we spoke to Iris Safaka, who talked to us about demystifying what is agentic AI. And she broke down all of the properties and how you build agentic AI capabilities. But critical perspective in this is, if we're applying agentic AI to security operations, what does that mean to security and IT leaders? And so today we have Gareth to share his perspective and the CISO's perspective on applying agentic AI to security operations. So Gareth, thank you for joining and welcome.
Thanks very much, Chris. Just like to say off the bat that for my career, I've been a buying CISO for a lot longer than I've been on the supplier side. So very much I still have that buyer's mentality. Continue actually consumes the ION service, and I have requirements and objectives from the ION service as well as a consumer of the service on behalf of Continue. I also get to look at some of the developments, so I have to do security reviews, but all the time I'm thinking about what's the value, what's the outcome, and why is this a good thing? The framing that has happened with Toyas and Iris is really good to talk about what the approaches can be to address some of the challenges that we have. And obviously, agentic AI has some great potential to fix some of the problems. Maybe I want to go back a little bit and talk about what the problems are, because that's what I'm trying to fix. So if I'm buying a service, it's because I've got a problem.
You're the Chief Information Security Officer at Continue. That means multiple things, and you're bringing the perspective of being a buying CISO as well as thinking about running a security operations center that supports customers. So given your roles, what is most important to you?
Specifically in the area of MXDR or managed security operations, I'm looking for two things primarily: speed and accuracy. I don't necessarily want to maintain an internal team. A little bit ironic, because obviously we have the SOC service assigned to Continue, but I don't want to have to go through that process of building an internal team, running it, keeping everyone up to date, and managing that sort of performance challenge. What I really need is to know that the solution that I'm buying, the service I'm buying, really can deliver on giving me super fast verdicts on potential incidents, very high level of accuracy and quality around it. But what I want is to be told very quickly about something that's a problem, and I don't want to second guess. Is it right? Is it potentially sloppy behavior? So I haven't properly analyzed that one. I'm not getting the level of detail within it that actually lets me do something. Yeah, speed and accuracy, stroke quality, that's really what I'm looking for. And been in this world for a very long time. I've built SOC services, I've bought SOC services, I've designed SOC services. You very quickly get to a point where you realize that this needs humans and it needs skilled humans, but you don't fix this with more humans. So you can't get the speed that you'd want, given the increase in attack surfaces that we're looking at and different ways of working. Remote working or remote first working models are new now. They're almost the default for a lot of organizations. Adoption of cloud services is almost a default for many organizations, and those that aren't there are well on their way to hybrid stroke cloud biased services. The attack surface we're looking at is ever increasing. The volume of alerts is going to increase, and I just don't see a sensible approach where more humans can deal with that particular challenge, because it's an exponential increase of the attack surface, and you just can't match that.
So I think I understand the complexity, the increasing attack landscape, I think everybody would agree with that. Let me just push on this assertion, as Toyas made this as well. The idea that we can't hire our way out of this problem. I know that there are a lot of numbers that got tossed around unfilled cybersecurity positions. Can you help square that with me with the number of people who are obviously looking to get into cybersecurity? It seems like there's not a shortage of people who would like to be helping and getting into this fight. So
Yeah.
why is it that we can't hire our way out of this problem?
So some of those big numbers I look at and just smile internally. I think if somebody did a sort of breakdown of the total number of person hours that needs to be done for every single security activity that happens times number of companies, et cetera, then yes, you suddenly get to those huge numbers. I think as a CISO, I have to ruthlessly prioritize. So one of my big questions with that is, are all those activities really valuable? So there's a lot of stuff that's done, but are they of equal benefit and value to the organization? So I'd challenge some of those really big numbers that you see thrown around. However, having said that, when you really zero in on what are the critical skills and experiences you need, absolutely, we've got a challenge in there that there's not quite the pipeline to generate the people with those experiences that we do need to supplement any solution that we have that's supported by technology, AI, whatever it may be. We're still fighting, and we know that day in, day out. We're still fighting for those same resources. Yeah, there is a skills challenge. I would just possibly push some of those bigger numbers to one side for a second and always encourage people to think about, well, what do I really need? And focus on those. Maybe tying back to something I said earlier, that given that breadth of the attack surface, even with those skilled resources, you can't scale to that exponential growth in what you're going to see in terms of potential attacks or suspicious activities. Yes, we need to get the skilled people, but that still isn't the answer. It's an important part of the equation, and we are still some way off fully automated AI-driven decision-making and execution. It's still valuable to have that experienced human in the middle, so we still need to do that. But you can't meet that speed requirement that I have with humans. And dare I say that if you add more humans into a mix, the chance of quality going down is really pretty high. So when I'm looking for speed and accuracy, I'm super clear in my mind that is not fixed by humans on their own. So that's why I'm looking for, okay, how do we do this? So I'm looking to the sort of marketplace, understanding what it is out there that can actually help fix this problem and do it in a way that leaves me with confidence, because it could be fast and wrong, or it could be slow and right. Actually, I want both, please. I want it to be fast and I want it to be right. Really, as a buyer, I'm pushing into that space saying, okay, how do you do that for me?
Okay, let's go on that thread of you being the buyer, you're the customer, and you're almost receiving this sort of agentic AI support. How do you ensure that the agentic AI is doing what you care most about, that it's delivering that speed and accuracy, and it's actually doing those jobs and those activities that you find to be high value?
So this is where I have to take my internal Continue hat off, because I'm working with the team on how they fix exactly some of these things and looking at the solutions. But as a buyer hat, to some extent, I don't care. So a large part of me is outcome driven. Yeah, speed and I want accuracy. Okay, I can measure those things. So I can see how many alerts come in, what a supplier or a solution does with them, and I can measure quality and accuracy. How that's delivered, part of me says I don't care, but then very quickly the other part of me kicks in and says I care a lot. And this is really in me getting the confidence that the way that those outcomes are delivered are safe, for lack of a better word. I really want to have confidence that whoever's built the capability understands some of the challenges and the risks in automating this and using AI. I'm looking for people that almost build it from the ground up, if not from a pure code perspective, but at least they understand that piece of how critical quality is. And that's a challenge if you're taking a sort of off the shelf package and cramming it into what you're already doing. There's some great tools out there, but you need that discipline. The good use of AI is automating, standardizing, and repeating what a really good analyst would do. And I think that's my question and challenge in this space is, why is your solution doing what it does? Have you got a solid foundation for how it's actually doing things? And do you have the ability to verify what some of the outputs are in there? If you can demonstrate that, you build my confidence. Conceptually, you build my confidence. Over time, obviously, we can look at empirical data that's coming out of a service or a tool running, and hopefully, of course, that supports that. But I need that confidence that this isn't a black box. I said I want speed and quality. I want to follow the approach of the organization on how they do those things safely. And that for me is a critical point. Agentic AI, as Toyce and Iris have put much better than I can, is the right way to do that. The right way to do that, that you're codifying what a really good analyst does, that you've got those quality measures in there, that you've got the checks and balances, that your solution learns and gets better and gets more accurate over time. That's really what I'm looking for as a buyer, or I should be as an informed buyer. They're the things I should be poking the solution, because everyone says they're using AI as, okay, well done you. Why are you using it? How are you using it? How does it benefit me? Are my buyer questions, which shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. But they're the questions that we really need to answer. And then that's where I think the approach and the resources that Continue have really walks down that road properly at a sensible pace with that sort of that mindset and scrutiny.
Okay, so Gareth, with the way you're talking about AI, with the way that we're approaching AI, do you see this as one possible way to approach the problems in cybersecurity? Is this a feature? Is this kind of a nice to have? Or is this critical?
If we look back to the whole discussion about the increasing attack surface, the kind of automation of attacks, everything that's on the adversarial side, I think it becomes just a critical piece. So I can't see a pathway where you come out on top if you throw more humans at this. So I think if you're looking at the pace and the breadth of challenges that we're going to face, this has to be a component. But for it to be effective, it's got to be the right thing done the right way. Having AI is not like a shield of steel. It's got to be actually delivering value. It's got to be helping the objectives and the outcomes that you're looking for. And there's a tremendous amount of hype in the marketplace. Absolutely every product you use has now got an AI component, but they're certainly not all equal. And I think, again, you need to look at the direction that AI development in this space is given. From the continued perspective, what we're super focused on is looking at a method of replicating what our analysts have done. So if you consider a day where you've had a number of tickets come in, different nature of tickets have come in, analysts have looked at them. What we're looking at doing is picking the best thing that every one of those analysts have done on those different tickets. There are people that are just going to have different approaches to doing things. They're going to just have a faster way of doing their analysis. And we're trying to take that absolute best out. And alluded to it before, we've got this fusion of data scientists that know a bit about security, and we're getting the security experts, the analysts that understand a bit about automation. And It's that fusion that's the critical piece, because that's where you get something that is absolutely laser focused on what it is we're trying to do. There's a real danger that you automate mediocrity if you don't have those two ingredients. So yes, you can take an AI tool, clamp it on top of what you're doing, but if you don't have that dual insight of what good AI practices, deterministic, agentic, classic machine learning type thing, don't have that experience, and you then also on the other side don't have the understanding what's good, you come to the space of automating mediocrity. And I think that's a real danger. With my buying CISO hat on, I want to poke that and say, how is this good? I understand the hype, but how do you demonstrate to me that you've actually got something that delivers that great outcome that I want in a way that delivers the speed and accuracy that I'm looking for? You've got to deliver me the confidence. And I think the approach that we do with the teams that we've got is absolutely the way forward in doing that. So yeah, absolutely. It's going to be defining in the space that we operate in. So in our marketplace, it's going to be absolute defining. And the differentiation is going to come from the people that take the approach we are versus the people that are augmenting tools as opposed to augmenting processes. And I guess that's the difference of what we're doing, that we're augmenting processes and people. A lot of the other approaches are augmenting tools. So I think that's where you're going to really see some differentiation.
Amazing. Thank you, Gareth. I think this is an amazing discussion, understanding from the CISO's perspective on applying agentic AI to security operations, your priorities, of course, being speed and accuracy and having confidence. Really helpful conversation. Gareth, thank you again for your time, and thanks everyone for listening. This is Defend Your Time, the podcast where we help you get stronger security, better value, and fewer headaches out of your Microsoft security investments. And this wraps our 3-part series on applying agentic AI to security operations. Thanks again for listening. Talk to you soon.